Frank Gardner there. Sahar Aziz is Professor of Law at Texas A&M University in Dallas and a non-resident fellow at the Brookings Doha Center. She's written about rethinking counterterrorism in the age of ISIS. Thanks for joining us very much indeed. Frank Gardner believes this is a significant blow. Do you agree?
I think it's a short-lived success. But ISIS, in contrast to Al-Qaeda, has created a quasi-state that is quite self-sufficient, both in terms of funding, in terms of control of territory, and in terms of having its own military. And as long as the underlying conditions in Syria and Iraq and the broader Middle East continue that feed ISIS and feed recruits to ISIS, then I think taking out one commander among the thousands of fighters will just make a short-term impact, and they will recover quite quickly.
And indeed, in the past, when various other leaders from Islamic State have been killed, they have been replaced very quickly. Do you think there'll be somebody ready to go into that place?
Well, they've had a few years of experience now in operation, and so they expect that they will die. Most of them are, in fact, seeking martyrdom. And so in their plan to potentially die in combat, they train others below them. So I suspect we'll find someone new announced. And even if that person may not be as skilled initially as Al-Adnani in recruiting, particularly foreign fighters, I'm sure that eventually he will get the skills. I just don't think that this is going to resolve the long-term problems.
Where do you think the focus then ought to be for the Americans and the Allied forces?
Well, first, there needs to be a solution to the conflict in Syria. And as long as you have a proxy war going on, it's going to continue to feed terrorism, militancy, and all kinds of state-sponsored violence as well. So I think that should be the priority. And once that gets resolved, it'll be much more difficult for ISIS to operate. And also, there needs to be a long-term solution for Iraq, because there's quite a bit of instability that's feeding militancy and terrorism.
But of course, a lot of that is going to take considerable time. Of course, Islamic State seems to be very well funded still. So in the short term, is there anything you would be urging the Americans or indeed Allied forces to do?
Well, for one, they need to be very careful about collateral damage and using the air to fight them, because the more civilians die, the more they're able to recruit. And I still believe that diplomacy in resolving the conflict and determining what the next step is and what the future is for Syria and what to do about Assad must be the priority. Otherwise, this is simply whack-a-mole, where they kill someone and a new person sprouts up and the conflict continues and civilians and refugees burgeon.
Sahar Aziz, Professor of Law at Texas A&M University. Many thanks.